How's everybody doing? Try to get this sun out of my face. I'm from the Carolinas, small little country towns, right? And oftentimes, when banks move to these small areas, instead of just buying up commercial real estate and then putting their bank there, or just building up a commercial building and putting their bank there, what they'll do is they'll find a location, they'll lease that location for a while, and if the bank is successful, then what they'll do is maybe buy some land, build it, or buy a building, whatever, right? It's just a safe way for them to enter into that market without having hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of expenses tied up to a physical location that may or may not work. Of course, like any other business, they do a whole lot of research beforehand to make sure this is even a good idea to begin with. Well, I'm headed right now to a location that actually failed. So you might have heard different entertainers, musicians, influencers, whoever say, hey, I'm about to go buy the bank. I'm going to buy the bank, right? Well, what we're about to go do today, of course, it's not going to be on this live, but I want to kind of set up the conversation that I want to have with you all, and we'll keep these going, is we are going to actually go buy a bank. Not figuratively speaking, not, whatever, right? Now, of course, just like anything else, it's a deal that has to go through. But what I'm going to do right now is I have to, one, go to a meeting at another bank to handle some financing things, and then going to go over and look at a building that is already designed and was already operational as a bank. However, the issue that they had was that they couldn't get enough clientele to justify sustaining that location. So after the lease was up, they decided to move on elsewhere, right? And this was a very small bank, all right? What I want to inspire, the whole reason why I'm telling you guys my business like this, is that I want you guys to understand that your only limitation is your imagination. If somebody would have told me when I was a broke kid in the Carolinas, mom never made more than $11 an hour, dad died when I was 11 years old, mom raised 5 kids, took care of my grandmother when she got dementia and Alzheimer's, as well as took care of herself, all off that $11 an hour, that one day I would be getting up on a Monday morning, which is notorious for when people hate to go to work, and I am going to a bank to have a discussion about buying another bank, right? Of course, I'll be the landlord, and I'm being intentionally transparent and intentionally repetitive, right? I'm not saying that I'm about to go buy Chase Bank or Truist or Wells Fargo. We all know those are multi-billion, maybe even multi-trillion-dollar organizations. I don't have billions, I don't have trillions, right? I'm going to go buy a commercial building that is already designed as a bank, and after the deal closes, or if the deal falls through for whatever reason, I will then share with you all the location that we either bought or were under contract to buy. Reason why I'm doing that is because technically, for most of you all that have bought real estate or anything in the past, you know that just being under contract doesn't mean that that is yours, right? So you can go under contract to buy a house, but until you close on the house and get the keys to it, it's not your house technically. So technically it's not our bank until we close on it. They give us the keys to it, right? But hopefully all is well, all right? So first lesson I want you all to learn this morning, your only limitation is your imagination, right? The second thing that I want you all to take away from this discussion is that every limitation that you have, right, or fear, right, because most of your limitations are tied to fears, all right, fear comes from a lack of information. Anything you're afraid of comes from a lack of information, all right? If you're afraid to invest in the real estate, if you're afraid to start a business, if you're afraid to invest in the stock market, if you're afraid to do whatever, right, in business, I want you to understand that you're not going to just one day get older and that fear is going to go away. You're not going to wake up in the morning and say, okay, it's my 40th, 50th, 60th, 70th, 80th birthday. I no longer have these reservations. What I see to happen more times than not is the complete opposite. People get older, they get more conservative, and they become more afraid, not less afraid, right? So I want you to know, if there's anything in your life that you are afraid of, right? Fear always comes from a lack of knowledge, all right? Most people, and I'm not saying I'm better than most people. I have a lot of these fears as well, even this fear I'm going to share with you, right? But a common fear that people have is of death, right? So if you get an understanding of, one, death is inevitable, but two, death is not the end. For those of us that, we believe in God and know that there's a better place for those that serve him on the other side, right? Those people don't become the people that embrace death or desire to die. Those people are just at peace with understanding, hey, look, this is what I need to do now for that inevitability to occur, right? Because it's going to occur. Death is going to occur either way. And I know that this is a pretty extreme example, but I like to use examples I think everybody can relate to, right? If you understand that one day, someday, Lord willing, you're going to get old and you're not going to be able to keep the same job that you have now and work in the same capacity that you work now, right? Whether you prepare for that time or not, it's coming. It's an inevitability, right? So there's nothing to be afraid of. You have to embrace the fact that either you plan for a comfortable retirement now, or you understand that you will never retire, right? Or at least not comfortably. So I want you to really challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm not just going to go start tackling my fears blindly just because, JT or somebody else on the internet said so, right? Whatever I'm afraid of, I'm going to ask myself why, right? I was raised to be afraid of dogs. I now have arguably two of the biggest dogs. I know for sure I got the biggest dogs in my neighborhood. I probably got two of the biggest dogs in the city. They may not be the biggest, but two of the biggest, right? I got South African bull boas. For anybody that is familiar with the breed, that's not a dog that'll fit in your bag, right, ladies? All right, that's a good sized dog. All right. But I was raised to be afraid of dogs because I was raised in the country where people fought dogs for money. So dogs were aggressive. Or people tied dogs to trees and fed them bones their whole life. And when they finally got off the tree, that was their first time being free. So, of course, they running, they jumping, they doing all of this craziness because they never experienced life beyond being tied to the tree, right? But once I got older and understood that, hey, there's actually people that have dogs that are well trained. Not every dog has the MO of biting every person they see, chasing every person they see, jumping on every person that they see. I was like, oh, so you mean to tell me that your environment will determine everything? That's a nugget, right? That's a nugget. Countless studies have been done on the most valuable thing, the most important thing to determine how well you do in life, financially speaking. It's not your level of education. It's not your socioeconomic upbringing, right? It is the environment that you choose to be in, right? You can grow up in the projects and choose to stay there your entire life until you die, right? But I lived in the projects before. I lived in the trailer parks before. I lived in a 2-bedroom house with a whole lot of people before, right? Remember I told you my mama had 5 kids. She had to take care of my grandmother, had to take care of me as well. I mean, herself as well, right? I was one of the 5 kids. So 7 people. Imagine 7 people in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. That's tough, right? That's tough. 4 ladies, 3 males, right? 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. All right. So you can imagine how tough that was. But I say all of that not for your pity, but I want you to understand that some of you all had a hard life. Some of you all might say my life was a gazillion times harder than yours, JT. Right? Cool. All right. You can still make it out. You can still reach your goals. All right. One more thing that I want to share with you all as well. All right. Identity is everything. Have you ever yourself or known anybody that has watched multiple videos across social media? They saw this person on Instagram talking about making money. They watched these people on YouTube talking about making money. These people on TikTok, these people on Facebook. They see these people on television. They know these people in real life. And they consume all of this information, and they can talk to you about the stock market. They can talk to you about real estate. They can talk to you about business, but they can't be successful entrepreneurs. Why is that? How is it that if somebody, now let's be honest, not everybody on the internet is really rich, right? I'm going to tell you, by the grace of God, I know a lot of the people that's on the internet that are in nicer cars than me, right? The car that I'm in, by the way, this is a Honda, what is this? Honda Civic Sport, right? This ain't a Bugatti. This ain't a Lamborghini. This ain't a Ferrari. This is not a Koenigsegg. Any of that, right? I am going to the bank, a bank rather. I'm going to a bank to handle some business about buying another bank. For anybody that came in the room late, right? I'm going to a bank to handle some business about buying. You know how people figuratively say, I'm going to go buy a bank? No, the commercial real estate, the building, the land that it sits on is up for sale, and we are already beginning the process to buy a physical bank, right? When you imagine who owns the bank, does that person drive a Honda Civic Sport? Or do they drive a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, a Koenigsegg, right? Insert your favorite brand of car, whatever that is, right? Let's be honest. Do I look like the person when you think, okay, when you go to your bank or ATM or wherever, right? When you go to your bank for whatever reason, and you imagine, if you were to imagine who owned that structure, does your imagination show a picture of me like this, like, what's up, right? Of course not, all right? And here's why I even stress that point, is that don't get caught up trying to look wealthy, trying to look rich. I'm not telling you not to enjoy yourself, right? So I'm not telling you to never get a nice car or never get a nice house. Now, I'm not going to lie. I stay in a 3-story house. On the 3rd floor of my house is an art gallery with over $50,000 worth of fine art. I'm having back and forth discussions with a artist that he crushes diamonds, mixes diamonds with paint, and then he draws the art, right? And I'm trying to finish my art gallery. I want to have $100,000 worth of fine art in my art gallery, right? So, like, my car is probably worse than yours, but I do got at least in my opinion, I got a fairly nice house, right? And I have multiple properties, not just a house, all right? But don't do that to impress other people, right? Don't try to go into debt, right? Don't try to go into debt or impress other people, especially people that even if you impress them, it wouldn't matter. I mean this with all love and respect and everything else positive, right? The vast majority of people that you will want to see you in your designer clothes, in your $500,000 car, or whatever the case is, your ideal car costs, right? Could they help you do greater business? Right? If your family members, your friends, your classmates from back in the day, if they saw you in the Ferrari, could they help you make enough money to buy another one? If not, right, I would get a Ferrari if I wanted a Ferrari at a time where it made sense to get a Ferrari. But even then, I'm not getting it to impress them. I'm getting it for me, right? I typically don't wear nice watches on a regular basis. A normal watch is this Fitbit because I'm going for 20,000 steps a day. I'm prioritizing my health, and I'm a little bit under the weather if I sound weird now as well. All right, but another one of my guilty pleasures, if you will, is I like expensive watches. I don't wear them often, but I like expensive watches. I buy them at milestones, right? So I set milestones for myself and in my business. And as we reach those milestones, all right, I'll go buy a nice watch, right? You still doing the medical courier? No. I haven't done any medical courier business since 2019, right? Haven't done any medical courier business since 2019. Right? How I make my money now is I own a media company. This is one of several assets inside of my media company. And we invest in other businesses and we buy real estate and stock. Right? So the most profitable thing that I do right now is invest in businesses. I don't invest in startups though. So like not I'm trying to figure it out. Not I got an idea. I'm like businesses that are already 6 figures plus in profit, right? Those are the kind of businesses that we invest in. And I'm talking about annually. They're already $250,000 a year or greater. We invest in those kind of businesses. So those are the most profitable endeavors that I do now. Now, I will tell you this though, all right? I didn't get that way overnight. All right, I started off as it was mentioned earlier, an independent courier, right? I started off as an independent courier, right? Now I had other side hustles prior to that, but my first business that had a LLC, a EIN number, a business bank account, certificate of good standing, articles of incorporation, filing taxes, doing all of the stuff that you think like you're a real business was the independent courier service, right? I did other little kid businesses here and there, but like when I say little kid businesses, as a kid you cut grass around the neighborhood. When I was in the Marine Corps, we would flip stuff on Craigslist. Had a little restaurant going in the pits because I was fapped out to the range for a while. Opened up a restaurant in the Target shed. Was doing like $400-500 a day there, right? So little side hustles in my younger years, but yep. But what I did though, understand this, is that, and I'm not saying that my way is better than the person that bought a Lamborghini day one. I just want you to understand both ways, right? So when I first got the money to buy a Lamborghini, I bought a 3-story house instead. The second time I got the money to buy a Lamborghini, I bought an Airbnb and a food trailer instead. The third time I got the money to buy a Lamborghini, I bought a media house instead, right? The 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, right? I kept investing back into assets, software, hiring more employees, business, right? Because I know that I want to build something that independent of me, right, can still generate a high income outside of me, right? Imagine if you bought the real estate, the building and the land that a bank is on. You found a bank that was willing to do a triple net lease, right? That's a nugget. Write that down, triple net lease, right? You can Google it or look into it later. But you're able to go get a bank. And I got to tell you about the deal after this. Somebody remind me to tell you about the deal, right? I'll tell you about the deal if I don't forget, right? Imagine, if you will, that instead of you flexing for the world, you bought enough assets that you can retire in your 40s or 50s. I'm 35 right now. I'm probably going to never retire, like stop working. When I say retire, retirement to me is having a lot of money coming in every single month with me doing zero for the money, right? I'll still be doing something just because that's my nature, but the stuff that I'm doing has nothing to do with because I need your money, right? And I know a lot of highly successful people that are like that. Older people, they do it just to stay busy, to stay active. They even make a lot of money doing what they do. They just don't need it, right? So to me at 50 years old, is having enough money coming in that if I did absolutely zero, it would still come in. And to be transparent with you, I'm not at that level yet, right? 7-figure earner, but I still am a part of my business, right? At 10 o'clock today, even though I'll still be on the road, I will be on a Zoom call with my team, and they will be telling me updates about the softwares that we're investing in. I'm really big on software right now, right? Really big on investing in software companies. All right. So don't want to nerd out about that. But okay, about the deal. Let me tell you guys about the deal. And if you have questions, drop questions, right? So this is a off-market deal. This bank is not something that you can Google and go to Zillow or LoopNet or you name whatever sites you like to go research property on. It ain't in Facebook Marketplace. It ain't on Craigslist. This is a completely off-market deal, right? When people say your net worth is your net worth, this is what they're talking about, right? And this is not the only deal that I have, but since this is the deal that I'm focused on today, right? I'll tell you this without getting, like I said, either we gonna close on the deal or if they back out of the deal, which, you know, we're still trying to see how things are gonna go, right? We're just got the process started. I'll show you guys the building if we buy it or if we lose the deal and the family decides to keep it. What it is that it's the dad's building. The dad is older. He's ready to slow down. They got plenty of money coming in from plenty of different ways. He's thinking about offloading this asset, but his kids and grandkids, he wants them to be on board with it. So he's already cool with like, yo, his terms was real simple. I'm not dealing with anybody that needs financing. I don't want anybody trying to do any creative deal. Either you got the cash or you don't, right? If you could do a quick close, right? Let's do 7-day close or quicker. Like it might be a little bit longer because attorneys have to do their thing for us too. But what he's looking for ideally is who can close on this within 7 days, who has the cash, and I just want to do a very simple transaction, right? He has a small mortgage on it. The amount of money that he's charging for the building is a steal of a deal for the property, but it's enough money for him to clear the mortgage that he has on it, put a little money in his pocket, move on, enjoy his retirement, and not have to worry about trying to find another bank to come be in that area after a previous bank has already failed, right? That's pretty difficult to do, right? At least in my opinion. All right, so he's not trying to worry about just maintaining a property and dealing with the headache of trying to convince another bank to come in that area and rent for him when another bank was there for many, many years and it was unsuccessful. So he just want to move on with his life, right? This deal comes from relationships, right? Relationships with other entrepreneurs, relationships with bankers, relationships with attorneys, right? Relationship with high income earners and the people that work with them. Guess where you meet those people at, right? By going to conferences, trade shows, auctions, certain auctions, right? And events that high income, right? One thing, this is going to sound crazy, right? somebody that I know out of Miami was telling me about this, and I was like, I never even imagined going, but I was like, you know what? Now it's on my list to say I'm going to go to it at least once. It's not anything urgent, but something that I'll go to at least once. Right? He was like, do you know that they do events where they show the brand new private jets that are coming out? 200 million, like owned up, like they got some cheaper, but they got very expensive private jets, and they'll actually do events all around the world, right? And the who's who or their representatives will come out and they'll just walk around, go inside and out of the hangars, and just look at the top of the line private jets and just network and whatever. He was like, man, he was like, if he had to guess, he would say that at least 75% of the people that are there have zero interest in buying a jet. 75% of the people that are there just to network, right? They're high income earners, or they can work with high income earners through their profession, their business, right? But they have no interest in coming to see where to spend their next $50 million, $200 million, right? Now, this person's business is he caters to the ultra wealthy. I didn't even know that was a term, but the ultra wealthy, by his definition at least, is you got to have a $500 million net worth or higher. So if you're worth $500 million or greater, he'll work with you, right? That's pretty much the short of it, all right? So it's a whole nother world of business, and he gets a lot of his clients through referrals, but he meets them initially at trade shows, at events, at conferences, at meetups, right? I'm telling you guys this as a nugget. A lot of you all trying to figure out what's the side hustle I could do with $0 to make $500 a day doing everything by myself. Like, man, by the time you do all of that, the cost of living is going to go up, right? Inflation, right? The buying power of that money is going to go down, right? And if you ain't got no assets, you working harder to, at best, stay the same. All right? The most valuable things that you have, and this, in my opinion, is in order, right? Relation, intellectual property, real estate. Somebody was to ask me, what's the most 3 important things that you have these things, you probably will never have a money problem. Relationships with the right people, right? Relationships, intellectual property, right? And then real estate. I would say in that order. All right? So I want you all to know relationships relatively inexpensive to form, right? Now, you could just add a lot of value for a long period of time and build relationships that way. If you have long periods before you need to leverage those relationships, many of you all don't. Many of you all want to make money sooner than that, right? So you get faster relationships by just investing in yourself, right? I still haven't had a chance to look for it yet, but a lot of the millionaires that I know that are in the media space, since I want to be around them and see what they do differently than me, right? I had to spend at least 5 figures each, right? At least 5 figures each in order just to meet them, right? And I know some people are like, oh, no, that's crazy. I would never do that, right? I have made millions of dollars off of that, right? Let me help you break through something for those of you all out there that are struggling with this. Some people will say, if I was to give so-and-so, right? Not going to call his name because I don't need nobody on my mentors like that in a bad way, right? You know what I mean? But I've named them plenty of times over. But just in this context, making this example, I'm not going to call his name right now, right? One of my mentors is $35,000 a year. Not, you know how some people complain about spending $10,000 one time for life, right? I got mentors that charge $35,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $250,000 a year. I haven't checked in with them on his highest tier, but one of my mentors at his highest tier is at least $1 million a year, right? That's what you have to pay him for him to mentor you, right? And what I'm trying to do here is bridge this gap, right? I'm trying to bridge the gap because I was born in poverty. I was raised in poverty. And then eventually I decided that I will get rich or die trying 50 Cent style. And I started obsessing over, okay, am I born to be poor my entire life? Or are there some things that I can learn, some things that I can do, some people that I can meet that can help me escape poverty? So I was born and raised poor, right? I'm now rich, right? On my way to wealthy. To me, wealthy is by age 50, I make 6 figures plus a month without doing anything, right? Right now, I got to work for it, all right? So what I want you all to feel me on, and just be patient with me as I try to articulate this, is that I know how crazy it sounds, because I was once the person that was like, what you gonna tell me for $35,000? What magic words are you going to tell me that is going to say, okay, because you told me these words, it's like you cast a spell on me that made me a millionaire? And you looking for the wrong thing. There is no such magic words. I'll tell you right now, save your money if you're looking for them to put a curse on you, or a blessing, or a whatever you want to call it. You don't pay that much money for magic words, right? Here's what you get in a high level mastermind, inner circle, mentorship, whatever sexy name it goes by in the future, right? The most valuable thing you get is that person's belief system, right? You get to see not just what they do, right? But you get to see what they do, how they do it, and why they do it, right? And I know I'm sounding crazy because I used to be struggling, right? So, and I know a lot of people here are there, but understand this. As crazy as it sounds, please give me the grace, right, to have this taken under your consideration. The only difference between the amount of money that you have now and the amount of money that you want to have is what you believe to be true, because your belief controls your actions. If you believe that you can never buy the bank, then Monday morning at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time, you wouldn't be going to look at the bank. Why? Because you don't believe you can own it, right? So I want you to understand that when I was living, y'all probably can't see it, there's a rest stop right there. I used to live there when I was homeless, right? I'm on the other side of the interstate now, so can't really see it, right? But I lived off of 95, right? I had a rest area when I was homeless. I'm on 95 now, all right? So even though my current reality was I was poor, I didn't know how to make money, I didn't have nobody to help me make money, didn't know where to start, right? Even though my reality was all of that, I never believed it to be true. Have you ever heard people say rich people are crazy? I would say it to a certain extent, you gotta be. Do you know how crazy it is when you live in an environment where a bowl of cereal or a Pop-Tart was like a fantastic breakfast? You was like, yo, them Frosted Flakes really hit the spot. That was a great meal, right? And I'm talking about you could eat cereal all day long, and sometimes you had to because y'all ain't had much, right? Imagine being in that environment And in that environment, you say, you know what, I'm gonna be a millionaire one day, right? And it's very hard to express that with your immediate family, with your immediate friends, because guess what? They would have to be crazy to leave you. How does it happen, right? So, as much as this is hard to grasp, I still want to tackle this subject with you all. Is that your identity, what you believe to be true? Who are you, right? Are you a leader before you have followers? I was, right? But when I had 0 followers on the internet, I still was a leader, right? And this is not cliche. Here's how I knew I was a leader, right? When I was in high school, I was in what they would call JROTC, right? In JROTC, I didn't just go in there to pass the class. I excelled in the class, right? In 2 years, right, I went from nothing to an E8, right? That's impossible to do in the real military. But for anybody that's in JROTC, you guys know how kind of difficult that is, right? Imagine if this is high school, by the way, not ROTC in college is different. I'm talking about junior ROTC in high school, right? In high school, from freshman to sophomore year, I went from E nothing to E8, right? Where I joined the Marines after high school. I got out of ROTC after 2 years because I knew I was going to join the real military. There was no real advantage of having 2 more years of ROTC. I still was going to get whatever I was going to get, right? So I just did 2 years in there. And then I went out, and to be honest, like most little kids, right, my age, I just chased girls my junior and senior year, right? So excelled in JROTC. Then I joined the United States Marine Corps, right? I didn't just get by, got my DD-214, and then say, okay, I'm out, I'm honorably discharged, let's go to college for free, right? So in 4 years, I only did 1 contract, active duty, right? Stationed in Okinawa, Japan, all right? So if I would have re-enlisted, right, Colonel Gray, right, he was Lieutenant Colonel then, but now he's retired Colonel, right? Colonel Gray was going to sign off on me going to OCS, which stands for Officer Candidate School, right? I would have went from, now I was only a corporal in the military. I'm talking to my military people for a second. If you don't know nothing about the military, bear with me. I'll be back with you in a second. I want to talk to some veterans or some military people real quick, right? JROTC, I went from 0 to E8 in 2 years, right? Because of my MOS and some other stuff, 4 years of active duty, I was only an E4, right? If I would have re-enlisted, I would have became a sergeant, an E5 in the Marine Corps, right? That would have gave me what I needed to get over there. I decided to get out, right? But instead of re-enlisting and becoming a sergeant, I could have re-enlisted and became a second lieutenant. For anybody that doesn't know anything about the military, ask somebody how difficult is it to go from E4 to O1, right? From an E4 to a second lieutenant, right? Pretty difficult to do, all right? Now, I'm telling you this for a reason. There was no social media presence there, right? I got out of the military, I went to Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company. First month there, I got Employee of the Month, right? Are you noticing a pattern here, right? Long before social media, quote unquote, stamped me or validated me by saying you have 100,000 followers or you have X amount of followers on the internet, right? Long before that ever happened, I was a leader, right? Even when I was a bad kid, I was a leader of some other bad kids, right? I went to the real military, they went to prison. I got partners that's in prison right now that every day we were together in my childhood, right? There's no reason why I wouldn't have been with them when what went down, because I was with them every single day, all day. That's what we did, right? The only thing that saved me, I was 17. My mom had to sign the paperwork since she did. My mom signed the paperwork so I can go to the Marines, right? That's the only reason why I wasn't with them when it went down, right? So, that being said, we're talking about identity, right? You don't get $1 million and then become a millionaire. You become a millionaire, then you get $1 million. Does that make sense? Do you see how before I was on social media, I was a leader, I was somebody that was worth following, right? When I was in JROTC, when I was in the Marines, when I was in corporate America, right? How I excelled above average in all areas, right? It wasn't like, oh, I came to social media because, I'm trying to be validated in life because I never did nothing. And now I want people to follow me so I can feel like I'm somebody, right? I love each and every one of you all, right? This channel would be nothing without viewership like you. But the reality of the situation is I will never have the pleasure of meeting the majority of you all in person, right? Now, we got a conference coming up in April. We got some other virtual events coming down the pipeline. But still, for one reason or another, either desire, logistically, or whatever it may be, like, I will never get a chance to meet the vast majority of people, right? Doesn't mean anything bad, but for some reason, right, somebody that I'll never get a chance to meet in person saw it fit to mash the button to hit follow or subscribe or whatever it said on whatever platform you're on, right? And if you're new to this and you're getting value out of this, continue or consider hitting the button for me, right? Does a lot with the algorithmic recommendations and everything like that. For the like the video, share it, subscribe, right? All of that good stuff. You don't have to do it, but if you're getting value out of it and you want to support the channel, it costs you nothing to do, right? Platoon commander in JROTC, right? Oh yeah, for sure, know all about it, right? All about it. So what I want you all to understand is that without context, which is why I had to give you the backstory, without context, if somebody said you gotta be a millionaire before you get $1 million, it sounds like they smoking crack. But now that you can understand that, identity is the most valuable currency. Identity controls your actions, right? Do you know what you won't do if you already identify as a millionaire? When you get your first 10,000, you can't blow it. Not you won't blow it, you can't blow it. There's a difference. When you identify as a millionaire, when you get your first 100,000, not you. Understand me. I'm not saying that it's impossible to blow it. I'm just telling you that because that's who you are, right? I'm driving a car right now. Because part of my identity is a man that can successfully operate an automobile, right? I will not crash my car. I'm not saying that it's impossible to happen. You get what I'm saying? Right? Anything is possible. You could swerve the wheel, right? Accelerate into the back of somebody. I'm not saying that it's impossible to do that. I'm saying that that is not my identity, right? Because I want to have a safe, right? This is my baby right here. A safe, low key. This my invisible jet, like Wonder Woman has. Was it Wonder Woman? I think, right? Nobody notices you when you in a Honda, right? That's why I love it. All right, so, right? Because part of my identity is I'm somebody that can safely operate an automobile, right? It's not that I won't do it. It's not that it's impossible to do it. It's just that's my identity, right? It's so much of my identity that I can speak to you coherently, consistently, answer your questions, navigate the conversation in a way that makes sense to you and me, and still safely operate this vehicle, because that's how much this is a part of my identity, right? Now, it wasn't always my identity. When you first get your license or when you in driver's education, right? Here it is, right? It used to be 10 and 2. Now I think they moved it to 9 and 3, right? It's 2 hands on the wheel, looking straight ahead, no music playing, no talking. You're always checking your mirrors. You driving for yourself and other drivers. Nothing wrong with any of that, right? But through constant repetition and adopting that identity, right? Now you do it without thinking about it, right? Now you naturally check your mirrors, right? You naturally keep your distance, right? Now, I know, don't get lost with it, right? The analogy is simple, right? Once you identify as being this person, right, you can't not become that person. Why? Because that's who you are. You feel me? Drop a 1 in the chat if that's making sense. If you lost, let's talk about it, right? If you lost, let's talk about it. I told you, I got a meeting at 10, right? I got about 30 more minutes I could be with you, right? But I don't want to bore you either. If you guys not getting value out of this, I could play my Luther Vandross, right? Me and Luther can take it on in, right? All right, great question. What would I do with the building? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, good points going into that. Good points, good points. There's a couple of things that I want to tackle here. Oh, y'all own it this morning. Boy, y'all slept good last night. Y'all slept good last night. Boy, y'all coming with some good points, some good questions, right? Let me see which one we gonna start with. Okay, I'm from Chicago. They'll hate you because they can't break or harm you nor support your business, right? Well, do business that is not predicated on them, right? So, okay, check this out, right? Identity. That's your most important currency because it controls your behavior, right? What if I do a business that ain't for them? You get what I'm saying? Right? Let's be real, right? If you're in an environment where the people that you think will do business with you are people that will want to harm you, hate on you, and not support your business, then you got to start, first of all, you got to get away from that element of people, right? So typically, right, I'm generalizing it because I don't know any of those people, but typically those people are not high income earners because high income earners don't have the capacity to do that, right? I don't have the energy to hate on Earn Your Leisure, Myron Golden, Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, him 500, Nehemiah Davis, you name them, right? Whoever is big on social media, Dion Coopwood, anybody bigger than me, more money than me, whatever, right? I don't have the capacity to hate on them because I'm so worried about becoming better for me, my business, what I got going on, right? If I'm hating on them and I'm spending all of my mental time and energy hating on them and trying to talk about them or do something to them, that's time that I don't have going into my business, right? So respectfully, love anybody that has a heart to help people, right? But I don't care what they got going on. That's good and bad, right? If they're making trillions of dollars a day, salute, keep doing your thing, keep serving people, keep serving God, right? If they making $0 a day, hey, hope times get better for you, keep serving God, right? I don't have no emotions either way about it, right? That's not disrespect. It's just I'm busy. I'm busy working on my goals, trying to get where I want to be in life for the generations after me and to serve the people that come long after I'm gone. I ain't got time to hate on you. I'm too busy trying to get my stuff together. What it look like, I'm hating on you and I ain't even where I want to be. How dumb is that? Now, I need to be getting myself together, but instead of me getting myself together, I'm hating on you. And you getting yourself together, or you at least working on it, right? It doesn't make sense. So what I would do is I would do a business that is not dependent on them at all, right? They're typically low-income people because high-income people, you have to choose, right? Do you have the capacity to obsess over other people, or do you have the capacity to be great, right? You're a free moral agent. You get to decide which one you choose. You got free will. You just can't pick both, right? So I would serve high-income earners, right? And now, of course, you're not going to support my business because I'm outside of your price point. I'm not even catering to you, right? If I'm physically limited for whatever reason, I'm not going to do a local brick and mortar business. I'm going to do an online business that can reach people outside of my local geographic area, right? If I'm limited, like I can't go anywhere physically and go do business somewhere else, you know what? I'm going to do an online business. I'm going to leverage social media and ads to reach people. They could be all the way across the world, right? Matter of fact, to the viewership here, drop what state you're watching this from, city or state, right? If you're gonna do your city and state, because I don't know what state every city is, but just drop your state or your city and state, right, in the chat, right? This is gonna be helpful. If I was in a location where I felt like everybody around me was a hater, I first got to change my identity. What about a hater make them feel comfortable even being around me? Even associating with my business, good or bad, right? Speaking on it, right? Them same haters, they don't go hate on Neiman Marcus. They don't go hate on Gucci. They don't go hate on Tiffany's. They don't go hate on Balenciagas. They don't go hate on Roof Crest, Eddie V's, right? Cheesecake Factory, right? These same people, right? And we don't know the character of all the leaders in these big companies, but for some reason, they don't hate on them, right? So I have to say, okay, what do I have in common in them? What do they think makes us relatable? What do they see in me that they can relate to have an opinion about me, right? I will check that out first, but that's how I would do it, right? Boom, boom. Yo, triple net lease. On commercial real estate, that's our goal, triple net leases, right? Put that in your back pocket, right? Look it up when nobody's around, right? That's a gem. What you working on today? I'm going to a bank to have a discussion about buying another bank, right? Now, I'm not, for anybody that came in the room late, I'm being intentionally repetitive. Bear with me for the people that's been rocking with me since the beginning. I'm not buying Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. I'm not buying a bank like that, right? What I'm buying is the land and the commercial building that is a bank, right? The actual entity itself, we do not buy. Like, these are multi-billion dollar, multi-trillion dollar institutions, right? I'm buying the real estate, right? I'm buying the real estate. All right? And what we're going to do is, somebody remind me what's the 3 most powerful things, right, in business. I shared it with you earlier. Drop it down. What's the 3 most powerful things you can own or you can have in business, right? Don't guess. If you don't know, you don't know. What did I tell you are the 3 most powerful things? is blank, right? Tell me what the first one is. The second two was intellectual property and real estate. What's the first one? What's the first one? Somebody say, nah, Luther have to wait. Yeah. My dad was really in the old school, like Luther, the Whispers, right? The OJs, people like that. So I ain't gonna lie, every now and then I put on a little Luther, little OJs, little the Whispers, right? For old time's sake. Danielle, stay in store, right? Stay in store for now. Ooh, Decatur, Georgia, right? To the family that's here from Chicago or wherever you are that this can help, right? So I'm in South Carolina now. We started this discussion in North Carolina. I own real estate in South Carolina, North Carolina. And because you guys watched the video this long, we started looking in Texas, right? I think we're going to start buying in Texas, right? I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about Houston for years. So I think we about to, not even think, I know we are, right? That's a little gym, right? So y'all might see me in the future with a cowboy hat on, right? Y'all know, oh, JT done started buying property in Texas, right? I really like the prices I've been seeing in Houston for Airbnbs, long-term rentals. I think it's a good market to expand our real estate portfolio. But I'm in South Carolina now. I got people that's watching us from Decatur, from Michigan, from Connecticut, from Toronto, Canada, right? My family just went to Canada. They was like, it was a different kind of cold. They was like, y'all cold hurt, right? Louisiana, Chicago, New York, right? Boom, boom, boom. Stay in store, Danielle, stay in store, right? Relationships, right? Got it locked in, right? So, not only did we get the opportunity to get the bank from our relationships, right? Off-market bank deal. It's a very older gentleman, to my understanding. I haven't met him yet. Hopefully I get the opportunity to meet him between this week and next week, right? I'm going to be transparent. We family. I'm your favorite country cousin, JC, right? I'm also trying to figure out something that his wife like so I can butter his biscuit. You know what I mean? Just real business. Like, just real business. Like, we going to pay cash. And I ain't even really trying to negotiate the price. I just want to make sure that we get the deal. Okay, person in front of me now has decided they don't want to drive. So, bear with me 1 second. Right here. So we got the deal through relationships, off market, right? And man, it is a sweet, I want to tell y'all more, but technically it's not ours until we close on the deal, right? We got the deal off market and even got the cash, right, from another off market investment that we did as well, right? So I'm pretty much just walking money from one investment to another investment, right? Somebody asked, what are we going to do with the building if we get the bank, right? Power of relationships. You guys know that I own a daycare center. It does around $20,000 a month net profit after all expenses. I take $0 a year from that daycare center, right? Zero. Because I am so intentional about wanting to create generational wealth, right? You know how everybody talks about generational wealth because it's cool and y'all watch the videos and y'all say, oh, JT is such a great person. No, right? JT is driving a Honda Civic Sport as a multi-millionaire because he put his Lamborghini, Ferrari, Rolls Royce, Koenigsegg money into real estate. JT, who can go get those cars whenever, right, is choosing to invest into commercial real estate and more residential real estate instead of big old diamond chains. Nothing wrong with diamond chains. I might get one day, so I'm not dissing you if you got it, right? I'm for sure going to get a very expensive car. It's on my milestone sheet. And maybe one day I'll share with you all my milestone sheet and show you guys. So I don't just buy stuff just because we can. I'm like, hey, achieve this goal, reward yourself, get that dopamine hit. Don't overdo it. This is what you're allowed to get. Next goal, achieve that goal, reward yourself, another dopamine hit, right? So to be honest with you, a Lamborghini is on my milestone sheet, right? That's another nugget you could take as well. You should have a milestone sheet where you don't just buy stuff just because you can. You set goals and you say, okay, even though I could go, and it can be small. It doesn't have to be buying a Lamborghini or an expensive watch or any other humbug that's on mine. It could be something as simple as, you know what, I got the money to get a PlayStation 5 now, but I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 5 until I have 10 times what it costs saved up, right? I'm not going to buy anything I want until I have 10 times what it costs saved up. So I don't know what it costs, but let's say it costs $300 to $500 maybe. I don't know. Somebody will tell me, right? What's crazy is I got 3 of them. I don't know what they cost though. And I don't even play games. I bought it because we were going to do a team, like what's it called? A gaming team, a video game team that goes to tournaments and stuff. That's a whole nother business that failed. And I just still got them in the box, right? That I already promised them to some people though, but we'll get rid of those to some families in need, right? But that being, 500, appreciate it, right? So your milestone sheet can be something as easy as that. It could be like, man, I want a PlayStation 5, but I got $500, but I don't have, let's say 11 times more. Because that way, even after you spend $500, you got 10 times as much of that saved up. So you say, okay, until I got $5,500 saved up, I can't go buy the $500 PlayStation, right? It's not because you can't financially. It's because your identity is you're going to be a 6-figure earner one day. You're going to be a 7-figure earner one day. And the PlayStation 5 ain't worth you not being a 6-figure earner or 7-figure earner one day. You feel me? Now you can still have it, just not at that high of a price. Because it don't cost you $500. It costs you your attention. It costs you your energy. It costs you, you know what I mean, the tools that you have to make 6-7 figures, right? So instead of just going to grab it because you got an extra 5 on you, okay, I got to get $5,500, then I can buy the system, right? If that was my goal, this is what I would do. I say $5,500 saved, I could buy the system, but no games. So I got the system with a controller. Now, you know you can download games or you can buy the physical games, right? I'll say, boom. All right, I buy the system. I got $5,000 left. Okay, cool. Well, a game costs $60. So you know what? When I get $660 saved on top of my $5,000, that'll be $5,600 or $5,660. Then I'll buy a game. Okay, cool, right? Then I'm gonna limit myself, right? I'm gonna set a timer on my phone or wherever, right? And I'm gonna say, okay, you know what? I can only play the game for whatever's a reasonable amount. I don't play games, so I don't know what's reasonable. I don't know if 30 minutes to an hour is reasonable or not, but whatever it is, uh, play the game for an hour a day. And it's only if I worked out. Or if I didn't work out today, I can't play the game at all. If I worked out today, I go an hour today, right? Self-discipline is love. It's not abuse. It's not anything negative, right? These are all things that I had to learn, right? If you want to truly be successful. All right, but let me tell you what the business is gonna be, right? Because you guys know I'll tell you some stories and put you on game. All right. I own a daycare center already. I don't take any money from it. Why don't you take any money from it? It's not my money. I invested in that asset because I want my daughter, who's 8 years old, by the time she's 18, I want to own 3 daycare centers. They're going to be for her. I'm not going to give them to her at 18 because when I was 18, if you would have gave me that much money, I probably would have killed myself. Not intentionally, but I probably would have just lived so reckless, doing stuff so stupid that I would have hurt myself very, very bad, right? I would have had a super fast car, drove it too fast. I would have partied too hard. I would have, whatever, right? We've all been dumb kids before at one time or another, right? So I'm not saying that, oh, I'm suicidal or anything like that, because I'm not. I'm just saying that that would have been too much power for too immature of a mind, right? One of the milestones on my milestone sheet is to own 3 daycare centers by the time my daughter is 18. I invested in 1 daycare center. I opt to take no money out of that daycare center and have the money from daycare center 1 to finance buying daycare center 2. Then I'm going to take the money from daycare center 1 and 2 to buy daycare center 3. I don't know if you guys know how much money is in childcare, right? So that is my plan that we're working to do this. What we're going to do with the daycare center is we're going to pay a brick mason to turn the drive-through window. You know how banks have the little awning that you drive underneath and you do your business from your car? We're going to pay a brick mason to change that drive-through window into a double door, and we're going to turn the bank into a daycare center. The vault is going to be a very nice office for the director, which is going to be the person that runs it, because I don't be in there changing diapers and making baby formula and all this and that, just to be honest with you, right? So I'm not going to be in there. I'm what they call an absentee owner, right? So I run the business. I'm not in the business. That's another nugget. Man, I'm dropping so many nuggets. You should have a 10-piece by now, right? We working on a 20-piece though, right? So, hey, I done gave you a 10-piece already, right? Let's get to a 20-piece before this is over. All right. So that being said, I choose not to take any money out because I said when I bought this daycare, when I invested in this daycare, it's not my money. Everybody wants generational wealth. Who willing to take some money that they can enjoy now and say, not only am I not going to enjoy it now, I'm divorced myself from this money. I never got to enjoy it again. This is for my kids and grandkids and future generations to enjoy. So I'm going to take this money, I'm going to put it in this asset, and then I'm going to have this asset finance the other assets, right? Now, that doesn't mean that we won't live a little, right? Guess what? I'm on track now. If everything works out smooth, she'll have 3 daycare centers way before she turns 18. She's only 8, right? So what that means, when she 15, 16, whenever she is eligible for a car, right? Guess where the money gonna come to buy her car? If she graduates and say, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, or it got to be some profession that helps people in their life, like, and makes a lot of money, of course, right? And I'll cover the college expenses. Guess who's going to pay her tuition, right? All this money that we've just been accumulating over the years, right? So now if she wants to become a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, right? she don't got to worry about going into student loan debt to pay her whatever. Right now, she's like how I was, which she might be. If she like how I was, and she like, hey, I just want to have money, right? Then okay, cool. I'm not about to just send you to college to party, waste time and whatever. You could go visit colleges with your friends that are there, but you gonna just be an entrepreneur, right? If all you want is to make 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures a year, cool. We don't gotta go into debt in college for you to do that, right? You gonna do business. You could go visit your girlfriends that are in college here and there, whenever, right? But you don't got to be a student there to enjoy that, if that's all you're going for anyway, right? It is what it is, right? So the bank is going to be turned into a daycare center. Why a daycare center? Because relationships are in order, the most valuable things you can have in business: relationships, intellectual property, and real estate, right? We have a relationship with the city, specifically the city official that's in charge of inspecting daycares. Daycares are highly regulated, as they should be, right? People want a safe, secure place they can leave their children. Some of these children are 6 weeks old. These are newborns. These are infants, right? They want to know that their kid is in a safe environment while they go earn an honest living to take care of their kids, right? So we should be heavily regulated. That's all good, right? I don't mind that. So because we have such a long-standing relationship, when I say we, I partner with somebody that has over 30 years of experience in childcare. So I don't own the businesses alone, right? Never get rich alone. All right, boom. That's another nugget. Never get rich alone. Instead of me trying to figure out how to own a daycare, how to run it, how to expand it, how to grow it, just find somebody that's already been doing it, that wants to retire but doesn't want to take a pay cut, and say, hey, look, you already know how to run it. What if I just make you a consultant? You can run this one until you want to retire. Whenever you want to retire, I'll help you put a director in that one, right? So buy into your daycare center. I'll help you automate that one, put in somebody in it, put systems in it so your daycare center can run and you can retire with it too. But not just that. I'm going to also make you a partner on these other daycare centers, and you're going to be a consultant and help me run these as well, because you already figured it all out. And not only did you already figure it out, you got capital to invest, and you relationships that have been forged longer than I've been alive, right? So we doing a little if you know type of business, right? What I mean by that, we know that the county that we're in has a problem, right? Now, anytime entrepreneurs hear problem, guess what we think? Time to get some money, right? Solving problems, answering questions that are strong desires or needs. That's how you make money in entrepreneurship. So anytime entrepreneurs hear problem, our ears perk up a little bit, right? Like we elves, right? Problems mean money to us, right? So that being said, she said, hey, we got a problem. We have a waiting list of kids that need childcare, but we do not have enough childcare facilities, right? So a childcare facility can only have so many kids based off of the size of the building and the number of caregivers they have. It might be X amount of kids per worker, right? And you don't just want to have anybody watching your kids. So there's a childcare shortage. They let us know, right? And by us, they let my business partner know that's still actively in it. Hey, would you open another daycare center? We have enough kids that if you opened up a second daycare center, we could fill up an entire daycare center with just infants and newborns. That's how big the waiting list is. And people ain't slacking up on having babies, right? So we know that if we buy the bank, if we pay a brick mason to redesign that little window and say, okay, instead of this being a window, just make it 2 glass double doors, just nice double doors. In inclement weather, that's going to be a way that parents can pull around in the rain, right? let their kid out underneath the awning, the same awning that the bank used. Instead of that being a glass window with a microphone that, hey, how can I help you today? And you send your debit card and fill out that little sheet, that's going to be a double door where you let your kid out and they walk into the daycare center, right? And that's going to be a daycare center. So that's what we're going to do at the building. That daycare center are rough projections. These are rough, of course, because we don't know exactly how much our utilities will be. We kind of know property taxes, payroll, but we don't know our exact utility bills. So there'll be some margin of error with this estimate. But we're estimating $33,000 a month to be projected from if this deal goes through, right? $33,000 a month, right? So over $1,000 a day. This is off of this one location, right? Now, of course, I'm going to split it with my business partner, right? She's also multimillionaire. She's in her 70s, right? And I'm going to take no money from this one either, right? And then I'm going to keep looking, and then we're going to buy one more, right? Now, ideally, of course, we were looking for another building that hopefully was already a daycare. Maybe it went out of business, whatever, whatever. But it's too good of a deal to pass on, right? Too good of a deal to pass on. So that's what we're gonna do with the building. We're gonna buy a bank, or Lord willing, like I said, nothing is final until we close. But whether we close on and they'll get it, or whether his kids and grandkids decide to keep it, I'll show you the building after whatever happens. That'll probably be a pre-recorded video, not live. Hey, how you doing? Right? So that being said, that's what we gonna do to get all three. All right? Questions. If you got any questions, drop them. Boom, boom, boom. If you got questions, drop them. Was anybody?
Yeah, there were some people there.
Oh.
They just don't open up till 10.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we got like 6 minutes. Was it a guy? Do you know if it was
It
a
was a
guy?
guy sitting there in the girl office.
Okay. Yep. I'm at uh I'm at Walmart right now, you guys. I went to